This is the Outback Recordings Podcast, Session 37.
Willkommen zum Outback Recordings Podcast, der Show für die Punkrock- und Hardcore-Community. Inspirierende Menschen, wertvolle Einblicke und spannende Stories präsentiert von eurem Host Benedikt Hain.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Outback Recordings Podcast. My name is Benedikt Hain. I am your host. I'm a music producer, mostly mixing engineer, working out of Outback Recordings, the studio with the same name as this show. And in this show, I get to pick the brains of inspiring and interesting people from within the punk rock and hardcore community. And with me on the show today is Nathan Gray. You probably know Nathan as the frontman and singer of a band called Boysetsfire, or from one of his various other bands like The New Recruits, I Am Heresy, or The Casting Out. Nathan is also a touring solo artist. He releases music and tours under the name Nathan Gray. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it. Hi Nathan, how are you? Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking the time.
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, did I forget anything substantial in this intro? What would you like
Not
to
at all.
add to this?
Not at all. I've done a lot of. I don't sleep much. I do a lot. But I think you pretty much nailed it. Those are the things that I do.
I actually think I forgot one thing that I wanted to say, but now I just thought of it. You actually wrote a book or two, right?
Yeah, that would be a good thing to know. Yeah, I have actually 2 books out and one on the way. So,
2 books out already.
Yeah. Okay. So to explain that though, the one is called Until the Darkness Takes Us, and it came out with an album under the same name, under the name Nathan Gray Collective. And the second book actually was in a very different way. It's called Many Mysterious Monsters, and it's a kid's book.
Okay. Interesting.
And then the upcoming book that'll come out with my album working title is called Light and Love.
Yeah, and that's sort of a biography thing?
Yes, which was much in the same vein as Until the Darkness Takes Us, which was also starting out from... So Until the Darkness Takes Us started out from as far back as I can remember, basically, which is my 10th birthday. And then we get to a point in the book where it just sort of... It came to a modern day time period, and I stopped it there. And when I wrote this new album, Oisey asked me if I wanted to write another book along with it. And at first I thought it was sort of silly because I already wrote an autobiography, but then I was thinking of how things had changed since that book so drastically, just my outlook and my mindset and everything in general, that it made a lot of sense. So it's just a continuation, and I intend this to be, it's sort of like a 2-part autobiography, the 2 books together.
So 2-part means you didn't rewrite like stuff from the first book, you just added to it.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I reference some things from it, but I don't like rewrite stuff that's already written now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I just thought maybe back then you viewed things maybe differently and then just try to like rephrase it from your perspective today. Did that happen? Or
to an extent, but not really. I mean, how do I sort of? I mean, there's definitely like I don't go back and rewrite the book in a different manner, but it is sort of taking off from that spot because basically the idea behind it is after Until the Darkness Takes Us, which ended on a very self-empowered, uplifting note. Soon after that book, no other way to say it, sort of fell off a ledge, emotionally and mentally. And it was because with Until the Darkness Takes Us, I was just beginning to get in touch with things that had happened in my life and get in touch with why I was harboring certain anger and certain things that were going on. And I hadn't really come to any point of honestly handling it or coming to any sort of peace with it. And with Light and Love, I really get into that aspect of it, into the idea that there is no complete healing. There is no complete end to this type of thing. Life is ups and downs. Life is a certain way. And it's more of a, instead of trying to get to that finality, to be like, I'm healed of all these things that have happened to me, to just learn to live with the fact that you may never be healed, it may never end, but you learn how to live within that. You learn to find peace within it.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. It seems like you feel like you've grown a lot as a person since then.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, and this is like I listened to the new record and I read through the whole like promo text stuff that goes with it, that I got with it, and what it seems to me is like it's I don't know how else to say, it's very positive and very motivating, and also like it seems that you, like what you just said, you seem to just grow stronger from what happened to you, and like whereas the album before that, some parts of it and some stuff that you put out in the past was sometimes a little darker. Now it always seems like, yes, like shit happens, but after that you'll come back even stronger, and it feels like a lot more. Yeah, you feel confident, and it seems like you look forward to the future, and it's just a kind of different perspective. And that
I would say the difference being is that before it was either wallowing in the anger and the sadness and the depression and the issues I was having, or I would sort of fake triumphant, just sort of this like puffed up sort of I win type of thing when I hadn't. And you can get caught up in that. And I think that I got caught up a lot in my anger. I got caught up a lot in, just fighting everything, just being contrary to be contrary. And now I've learned to settle down a little bit, I guess, and like just realize that life is ups and downs. And the thing that I'm so proud of with this album and this book is that I created a positive album that not all the songs on it are very positive. And that's sort of awesome to be able to create an album that is life, to be able to create something that has its ups and downs. There are songs on that album that are very sad and depressing and come from a place of hurt. But the overall feel of the entire album is positive and lets people know that it's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel depressed, because a lot of times in this social media society, we look at people succeeding and, I got back from the gym and I did this and I'm awesome and everything's great and I'm happy 24/7. Bullshit. No, you're not. And it's not fair to people watching. It's not fair to people who have these issues emotionally and mentally and physically and things of this nature, who look at this false view of how they should be, and it drives them deeper in to that hurt. And it's why I've set out to show people that you can be positive and still hurt. You can still be a human being. You're not a failure because you're depressed. You're not a failure because you haven't overcome certain issues in your life. You're just human. And you can still take on a positive attitude without it being a cover-up for the bullshit that's going on in your life.
Absolutely. And this is kind of the theme that I was trying to talk about before, because like there's some songs on there where it seems like you've grown to be comfortable with the imperfection that's like in every human being. And like when you listen to like Working Title or the first song, like In My Defense, you clearly say that you're nowhere near perfect, and it's totally fine, and it's a work in progress and will always be. You probably also know that you will never be perfect, or you never reach like this ideal thing, but that's okay, and you kind of enjoy the ride, right?
Without a doubt. And I think that not only helps my well-being, but it helps others. And that's a very important distinction for me, is that I'm an entertainer. and I'm an extrovert and I'm someone who wants to reach people, you know? There are other people who don't need that in their lives. I do. I need to see what I'm doing through the lives of others sometimes. I need to be able to help others in order to help myself. And that's just how I've always been. So with that knowledge, it made a lot of sense to finally come out with a lot of the hurt and darkness that I had been living with, and to get that out into the public, and to not only that, but to carry on in that mindset and with that idea that not just what I put onto albums or into books, but what I put onto social media, what I put out there constantly, what I put out there when I'm face to face with people, is letting people know at all times that there's nothing weird about them. They're human. We're all human. We all have these aches and pains and failures and issues that have happened to this and this darkness that we carry around with us. And I think in general, when you live a life that is positive yet honest about such things, it helps other people go, oh, okay, well, I can do that too. You know, and instead of giving them this unreachable goal or just this depressing mess to wallow in, you know,
exactly.
So so it's a big deal to me as an entertainer and someone who likes to reach people, you know, to be able to finally find this honest place where I can on a real level, as opposed to all these fake ways that you can inspire people, but it's not real.
Absolutely. And I assume like that this resonates with a lot of people. And do people ever reach out to you personally and like ask for advice or thank you for that? Or like, do you get any sort of like reaction to that? Not only on live shows, obviously, but like, do people text you or email you or like, things like that happen?
A lot, and especially on social media. And I actually did in my new book, in Light and Love, I actually do a couple of chapters of here's what I did, here's what you know what I mean? And just sort of letting people know, not that they need to follow exactly what I did, but maybe a little bit of inspiration towards what they can do to help. But I get it a lot. It's sometimes very rewarding. It's sometimes very hard. Because people will bring some dark shit to you, you know, and because they trust you, because of what you said. And sometimes I just gotta, like move away from it for a second and just like, okay, get yourself together. All right, holy shit. Like, oh man. And then like go back and just let that person know how brave it is, number one, that they shared that. And then to try to give them some sort of guidance without leading them astray is horrifying, you know? To think that they just handed you this really intense, horrible thing about their lives and it's now your move. You know, and what you say could make it better, could make it worse, you know, and that's horrifying at times, but it's also an honor that people trust me enough to give that to me. And I try to be as present as possible, because I think that's really people, when they're looking for advice, especially when they're talking about some things they don't tell a lot of people, or they don't tell anyone, a lot of times they're not looking for you to fix what happened. They're looking for someone that gets it. Just someone that's going to listen and not judge them and and sometimes not even try to fix it. They need someone else to know, you know? And that's what I've really had to learn, is that the way you don't fuck up when people tell you that stuff is don't immediately try to fix them. You know, just listen. Just let them share what they've been through and be a friend. And that's it.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. I mean, I think everyone has been in a situation where you kind of, you just talked to somebody, told somebody about what's going on in your life, told them about a problem, and before they even answer, it immediately feels better just because you had the opportunity to say that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Yeah. And but I'm wondering, does that ever, it sounds like you are getting energy from that, from helping people, and it sounds like it's helping you in a way, but does that ever drain energy or take it away from you? Or do you ever feel like, okay, now I really need a break because now I need to take care of myself, and does that ever happen?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can relate to that in two separate stories. So on the positive realm is that I call it altruistic greed. Where you gain something from helping others, in that after you've helped bring someone to a certain point, or you've just listened to them and let them go on their way, you feel better. You're like, okay, I did something there. They smiled, or they received some kind of hope through talking. Even if it didn't fix them or it didn't make them happier, it gave them a release. It gave them a venting. On the other side of that, and I talk about this in my book, I had a friend who sat me down. Funny enough, she does tarot cards, so she was doing a reading for me, but she just had sort of some friendly advice while we were doing this. And she was like, it was before a show in Brooklyn. She was like, you get up on stage and you pour out all of this hurt and pain and, all of this stuff. And it's like watching someone cut themselves down the middle and just spill their guts on the floor. And I watch everyone go and sort of pick up pieces of you, and they take it with them. How do you put it all back in? I was stunned. I was like, I don't know. I never do. She's like, you're going to die. You can't keep doing that. You can't just keep spilling it out and not finding ways to bring it back. And a good example of that was my very first tour as a solo artist in Europe. It was just me and a guitar by myself on the road. Yeah. And when you are every night spilling your guts and just talking about this dark shit and reliving it, and then you go sit in a big backstage room that you would normally hang out with your friends, by yourself with a bottle of wine, and after the show you go and you sit in a hotel room by yourself, probably with a bottle of wine, it just it's not good. It's not good. It's very dark and it gets bad. And that was, but it was necessary. It was a starting point to start figuring out what my friend Sarah was talking about. And I started to realize that, number one, I need friends with me. I need people, and I need specific friends with me, very specific, positive people. And that's why when I started building a band out of this solo stuff, I handpicked people very purposefully. I did not just go out and go, oh, you can play this, you'll do.
Yeah.
Ben Christo, who plays in Sisters of Mercy, was the first guy I picked, and it was because of his sweet and loving spirit. He just glows, there's something about him that is just very genuine. It's very sweet. It's very endearing. And it's something that I need. So I bring him with me because I need that. It's almost like you go into a freezing room and you need a little warm blanket, and he's my little warm blanket, come here. I need to, And that's how I build out, even in the US, with the people who are playing with music with me here, those who play in Europe with me. My first way of picking band members now is not through musical talent. It's, I need to know that not only are they going to be basically a ray of sunshine for me, but also I need to know that I can trust them with my fans. It is so important. Especially when dealing with such deep material, you are going to have, and I say this very seriously, and it's very important to me, and I want people to know this. When you come to a Nathan Gray show, you are safe. And it's important to say that because that is not always the case at shows. And it's sad but true that people who are broken, people who are hurt, and they need help and they need understanding, a lot of times will run into these shitty, drunk band dudes that are just trying to get laid.
Yeah.
And I don't need that on my tour. I will not have that. And so it was very important for me to pick people specifically so I knew if I were not in the room and someone who is desperately in need of help, who had heard my music and just like, I need to talk to somebody, I need help, they were not going to be taken advantage of. They were going to be listened to. They were going to be pointed in the right direction, and they were going to be cared for. And then cool. Music after that. So it's very important for me, not only for my own health, but also for the health of people who come. Because if I'm putting out this message and I'm expecting people to come to this safe zone and be who they are, I need to make sure that the people I'm sharing a stage with are not endangering them.
It's so obvious, but at the same time, as you say, it's like, sadly, it's not always the case. So
yeah.
Super cool to hear that. But that like brings up the question, why did you feel you had to start like the solo thing? I mean, you could have done this with all of your bands. I'm assuming you've played with friends and people you trust in your bands as well, and like create the safe place there for years. But now you felt like the need to help people even more with this solo project. What was it that like sparked the idea that you said, I have to go out on my own, I have to do this the way I wanted to do it?
Well, there's two reasons, and the one is that this is more honest, and it's more me. I cannot direct things exactly as I need them to be in a democracy. You know, between many people with many different thoughts, with many different ideas, I cannot direct that in the way I need it to go. The music, the lyrics, everything. Like with Boysetsfire, that's not all me. You know, that is, everyone has their part in that band. And so I needed to do something because I was coming out with some very dark shit that had happened to me. So to back that up a little bit, the first song I wrote for this was Echoes. And Echoes is a song that speaks to my sexual abuse as a child in the church that we were in. And I remember late one night, it was right around the time when I was like, maybe I'll do some solo stuff, just sort of as a fun thing on the side. It wasn't like how I'm now taking it very seriously and really going with it, you know? It was more like, maybe I'll just do some fun thing on the side. But I started writing this song, and the lyrics just started coming out. And once they did, and I wrote the song and I sang it back, and because sometimes when you're writing music, you don't really think about what you're doing. You're just going, you know? And I finished it. I played it one more time, and I broke. Absolutely fucking lost it at the desk. And I remember sending it, like a little phone recording of it, to Oisey, and going, it was like, should I do this? You know, like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. I don't know if this is something that I should be doing. I'm terrified to put this out. He and a couple of other friends that heard it were like, well, it's time. It's time to do this. It's time to take this next step. It's time to move forward. And to be honest, I was a little angry at first because I wanted them to say no. I wanted them to tell me, oh, no, you probably shouldn't talk about that, or, oh, that song sucks, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I sort of wanted it to be, because I didn't tell them what it was about, but it was fairly obvious to everyone, you know, that knows me very well.
It would have been easier.
It would have been easier if they were just like, I don't know if you should do that. And be like, okay, cool. And I could just hide it away some more, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. And as I started thinking about it, I had to think once again with that altruistic greed, where it was, this could help me. But what really got me, I was sitting there thinking of all the shows I've played in my life. Sorry. And I was thinking about how many people, I mean, statistically, there's a lot of people who've been through abuse in one form or the other. And how many people must have been at these shows who needed to hear this, who needed to hear that they weren't alone. And I almost felt ashamed of myself in a way, that I wasn't there for them.
Because you've always had that medium and didn't use it for that purpose.
And yeah, and I mean, and I know that's not completely like sensible, you know what I mean? Like, how could I know, you know? But that's where my head went, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what really made me strive to say, no, I owe this to others as well as myself. Because the more people stand up, the more people speak out about this, the less secretive it becomes. It doesn't have to be a secret. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be this dark thing that you don't share with people because it might make them feel fucking uncomfortable. Fuck them. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we are able to speak our truth, that we are able to get this out and start the healing process. And that healing process may be the rest of your damn life, but at least you're starting it. At least you're on that path. So with that in mind, it was very important for me to get that out and to not only get that out with Echoes and with that album, but I had already from that moment went, I'm going to start basically detailing my journey through my music. And that's exactly what's happening now, is that I get to show people where I started and then get to, you know, detail my journey forward. And hopefully people who were there for Feral Hymns, and even maybe people who just go back to that, can sort of follow along through that process and see that the healing process basically of it all. And maybe even, you know, get a little, for those who haven't dealt with this kind of abuse or even any kind of abuse, maybe they can get a better handle on how to better help friends, family members, how to better understand what they're going through. And I think, you know, that in and of itself is just a very positive place to be. And that's why this new album is so full of life and joy to me. Even in the moments like with the song Mercy or Refrain that are very low points, the fact that you know that that's not where it ends. That's what's so awesome about this album and why it was purposefully done that way, to where, yeah, it's going to take some dips in the middle of the album, but you know damn well it's not going to end there, you know? And that's what life is you're going to have these stumbles, you're going to have these falls, you're going to do things you regret, but you're also going to be able to pick yourself back up from that. And you're going to be able to learn from that. And you're going to be able to keep moving forward.
I'm wondering, was that a concept that you, like when you started writing the album, you knew that it's going to have that like ups and downs and the way, like, did you have the whole picture in mind, or did you just start writing and then like you somehow it came together? Like, did you knew exactly when you started what this album should be like?
With this album, it was the concept. I didn't know if it would work.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, but it sounded like a concept. Like when you
so it was a
right
mix
now, it
of
sounded
those
like you knew
two
what you were
things.
doing.
Yeah. It was like, well, here's the next step, but I don't know how next step it's going to be, you know? Okay. So, but it was definitely purposeful because I took out a couple of the more draggy, darker songs, and I actually put those onto Bandcamp so people could still hear them. But I didn't want to overwhelm the album with them. I wanted to keep it so when I got to the end of writing, that's when it became purposeful. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So I was writing all this stuff, but when I got to the end of writing, I was like, okay, I am going to put this together in a very purposeful manner.
When you say like you've learned to accept that life is just that way, and that yes, there will be sad times and sad things will happen, but you will always get back up and grow stronger from it. Like you also said that you are a little more relaxed or not get triggered as much, maybe, or you don't like argue for the sake of arguing. That's
right.
what you said. But you're still like, it seems like, and yeah, I mean, you can hear that if like in this conversation even, and also if somebody follows you on social media, you can see that you're still like wearing your heart on your sleeve, and you're speaking out if something is wrong in your, like to you just say it, and you're not afraid to say it, you're not afraid to call people out, and you are like very clear with what you say. So where do you draw the line? Like, where is the point where you say, okay, I don't really have to argue about this, but this is something like I cannot be quiet. Like, where do you draw the line compared to maybe a couple of years ago?
Right. My line is, so the difference between a couple of years ago and now, a couple of years ago, there is a big difference between lashing out with hurt against people who don't deserve it. For those who don't know, and that might be listening, for a while, I took up this I was really pissed off about Islam and things of that nature. And I said a lot of things without really knowing what the hell I was talking about, because I was just speaking out of anger. And I think that in a way, because of the abuse that I had faced, I was lashing out at religion, and I just picked one that was easy to lash out at, and unfortunately I hurt a lot of people. I offended a lot of people, and not in a good way. I think sometimes you can offend people in a good way. That was not it. And I have since apologized several times, but not only apologized, but I have made an effort to atone. And I think there's a big difference between those things. There's a big difference between just saying, I'm sorry, or especially not, I'm sorry you felt that way. I not only saying that I'm sorry that I did that and I caused hurt, but to turn everything around and to fight against that and that atmosphere and that mindset, that hatefulness and that bigotry and that fear, because that's what it is. It's fear. And that's what it was for me, and it is for anyone you see out there lashing out at people without really understanding what they're lashing out at. It's fear. It's their own personal fear that's causing the hatred, that's causing the bigotry, that's causing all of that garbage. So now, where I draw the line is at bullying, because what I was doing was bullying, and there's no two ways about it. When you lash out at a religion or a culture or anything as a whole without taking into consideration the individuals involved, you're a fucking bully. And it really hit me that I now lash out in the protection of others. And I thought I was doing that before, but I wasn't. And I was very misguided. And so now I do my best to make sure that what I guess the motto that I go by is fighting power, not people.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so standing up for the individual, standing up for people in general, but realizing when to confront power, when to confront abuse of power especially, and when to confront things that hurt others. So that's the distinction, really, is just finding my way in guiding, I guess, righteous anger. that anger that comes from people are hurting and I need to protect them. I need to speak up because no one's speaking up right now. I need to speak up because I need other people to see me speaking up so they know they're not alone. And there's a very big difference between that and just lashing out wildly at shit.
Do you still get like responses from people who don't get it, or who like are still mad at you for saying certain things, or is that like did that completely disappear like after you changed that?
I think that it took a little while. I definitely had some people that just didn't trust where I was going with it, and I get that. I don't blame them at all. I mean, you have to really, because some people will give some bullshit apologies and then move right back to doing what they were doing before. But I think that for the most part, I've proven that I can be trusted, and that was just a product of some really dark things I was going through and not who I am as a person. And at the same time, I don't feel like I'll ever stop trying to prove myself the rest of my life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's one of those things where it's just like, well, this is where I'm at, But now on the flip side, I've definitely had responses from, online trolls and shit like that. And like right-wing douchebags that just, they come for a fight. They don't want to have a conversation. They want to fight. And this is the big difference now in how I react to these things. I will not get into circular arguments. I will not do it. If you have a reasonable complaint with something I'm saying, we can discuss it in a friendly manner, but it has to end at some point. And either it will end by us both finding common ground, or if we can't find that common ground and I realize that you're just doing this to spread manipulation, or you're trying to use my page as a propaganda source, I'll just block you. There's no reason for it. It's pointless to waste my time. It's pointless to waste my friends and my fans' time with it. I won't do it. So I think it's something that we can all learn from and something it's coming up down the road with the US election coming up, especially. You're going to see an influx of these bots or these trolls who are basically there just to waste your time with dishonest conversation. Even if with a fight, they're there to stir you up. They're there to get you angry and upset. And that's it. That's all they're there for, to waste your time. And so you need to be more discerning. If someone comes at you and you go to your page and you realize that they have 0 posts, no followers, blah, 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 they're not real. That's not a real thing. Like, they're just there to fuck with you and to get you angry. So just block them. Forget it. There's no purpose to it. Now, on the opposite spectrum, I see when people go to like politicians' pages and stuff, and they like, especially Trump, who lies consistently on Twitter all the time. And I see people that go there and they sort of argue with him, even though they know he's not listening. They do it so that when other people go to that page, they see a counter argument, And I can see why that is, as long as you're not wasting your whole day doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I can see that you're just going, here's the truth of what this idiot's saying, so someone else can see it, and they don't just go, oh, well, it must be true, But we all have to be a lot more careful with what we waste our time with. And we need to do it in a way with, well, what would you waste your time with if this person was standing right in front of you? I mean, honestly, if someone just came up to you yelling nonsense, would you really stand there for more than a second? You wouldn't. You just go, okay, this guy's crazy, and walk away. Like, why don't we do that online? You know what I mean? Like, blah, 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 immigrants, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up, and you walk off. It's not that hard. And just block them, because if we all block them, no one can listen to them. Like, that kills them right there.
Yeah.
Like bullies. If everybody ignored bullies, they have no one to bully. Like, no. I mean, obviously you have to defend people who are being bullied, but if we're all just going, well, that guy doesn't matter, and walking away and leaving him there by himself to rant at himself, who cares what he's saying?
Like, that's actually a good point. I never thought about it, like the real life example there, but it's so true.
Can you imagine that? Like, just like someone coming at you like they do online in person, like they'd either like get punched in the face, or at the least you'd go, okay, I'm going to walk in the opposite direction of this lunatic. And like,
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy what we'll accept because it's done through a computer.
Like, the not wasting our time with this is so powerful and important, like in so many ways, because not only do you not waste your time and like, even like those people get joy out of that, and you shouldn't give them that, and you should not waste your time. And also, I mean, you could use that time to do something like useful with it, or help people with it. It's not only that you're wasting your time. You could there's an opportunity cost there. Like, you could do something else that's much more powerful and helpful. And
and I've done tests on this just for my own curiosity. When you get those people who are sort of like trolls or whatever, usually my response is, look, I understand that this might seem empowering to you, to be able to wind people up online. But, what are you really doing with your life? Like, tell me about your life. What are you doing? You know what I mean? That type of thing. And they'll hit you back with maybe 3 it's the same shit they all say every time. And they'll hit you with about 3. And if you just try to keep it conversational, you'll see that they'll stop talking to you. If they can't get the reaction they want, and you're just like, no, really, why are you angry? What's going on? You okay? Like, just, and try to be nice to them. They hate it. They will immediately leave you alone. So, and that's the test right there. Like, if you say those things and they don't react like a normal human being, they're not there for a conversation. They're not, they're there to stir you up and just to waste your time, because it makes them feel empowered that they can get other people angry. And that's it.
Yeah, and they also are sometimes, people like those are used like as tools almost, because like fear and getting people afraid and angry and upset is good for certain people if they want to get their agenda through, so those people sometimes without even knowing, they are serving others with what they're doing here, and they are tools for.
And this brings us back to exactly what I was doing many years ago. I had friends that were using, friends I put in quotation, who I am no longer friends with, who were using my hurt and my pain for self-serving purposes. And they would feed me these lines. And it's still my fault that I fell for it. I'm not blaming it on anyone but myself. But that is what was happening. And they were purposefully feeding me misguided misinformation in order to get me railing on these things. And once I realized, holy shit, these guys, like, you start digging into these people and going, oh my God, I'm like friends with Nazis. Holy fuck. You don't even realize it. They're fucking stealth as shit, man. Like they are very, I mean, hats off. They're good at what they do. It's very like secretive, and you have to ask yourself, if what you're doing is honest and what you're doing is good and what you're doing is right, why do you have to be secretive? Why do you have to manipulate people into believing what you believe? If what you're saying is the correct way of being, you don't have to do that. So that made me start looking into some of my quote unquote friends, digging into things that they were hiding from me, and realizing that I was being manipulated by people with nefarious reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you had a platform. So I don't know how far back that was, but it's even worse, or for them even better, because you have a platform, you have an audience. You can, if you want it or not, but you can also like manipulate people or influence people at least. And
without a doubt,
if they know that, and that like if people feed you the right or wrong information, that has an impact on much more people because they are listening to you. So
because these were people that nobody gave a fuck about. Like they weren't what I mean? Like, so it was like, so they were using me as their mouthpiece to get people interested in their shitty ideas.
Yeah, that's super, super cool talking about that. And back to the album again, I was wondering, how did the first one and this one come together? I mean, you talked about like the people you chose that you wanted to tour with. Mm-hmm. And you talked about the ideas behind the record and how it came together, but the actual process of making that record, were there the same people involved that you chose for the live touring and the live band? What was the process like? Did you write everything on your own? Were there people helping you? Where did you get inspiration? Stuff like that. Like, how did it come together?
Pretty much many of the people that I chose to work with are the same that I'm touring with. So Ben played some guitar stuff on there. Let's see. Jalen, who is in the Never Alone video, she did some guitar parts on there, and she's also part of my touring band in the U.S. Jake, who tours with me now and toured with me with the Nathan Gray Collective, he played drums on the album, and Rakis from Boysetsfire played bass on it. And of course, Pete Steinkopf was helped record and produce all of it. And then Chuck Reagan, of course, sang on Working Title. And all those people, same thing. Oh, also my friend Elise did some backup vocals and some cello on the album. She had done cello and some vocals on Feral Hymns as well. She was also one of the original members, funny enough, of the Casting Out before we started touring. She, because the Casting Out was supposed to be more acoustic and whatnot. And it started out with just me and her. And she was playing cello and I was playing acoustic guitar, and then it formed into a band, and she left the band, but and had other things that she was doing. But so it was cool to have her come back and do some stuff.
That's cool. Mm-hmm.
But as far as the writing is concerned, that's all me. And that is why I chose to do this as a solo artist, because I want to live and die by this. I don't want to be able to either have an album come out and people go, I love it, and me have to go, well, that's great, but I'm only a part of this. Or I hate it, and okay, but I'm only a part of this, you know? I want all of the negative and positive for myself, you know? And as greedy as that might sound, it's just something that I need to prove to myself. I need to know that when people hate it, it's because of what I do. And when people love it, it's because of what I do, you know? Either way, I don't, you know, whether it's negative or positive, I want to be able to know that it's because of something I did 100%. Now, I can't play drums. So I can give Jake the basics of what I want, and then he can use his talent to make it sound the way it needs to. But I wrote these songs 100% before bringing them in.
That's why I was asking.
Even with like a digital drum, you know what I mean? Like you can hear on Bandcamp with the songs I did, the drums are terrible, but they're, you know, but I did them, you know? And so it was just very important to me, write everything 100%. But then once I started sort of like with touring, you need other people to help you out. You can't just stand up there as a one-man band. So I had other people come in who were very much who are the same people that I'd use on tour because I already know I can trust them and I know what their talents are and who they are as people.
I was asking because of that, because you already said you want it to be yours, and you like not the democracy thing that happens in the band. So I was wondering how the album got together.
Yeah, and everybody knows who I work with. I've tried to let them know also when they come into the band, it's like not to be a big jerk. But at the end of the day, and I give people this option before they're in the band. Like I don't just wait till they're in the band and then hit them with it. You know, it's like, look, my name is on this album. It's not just a band name. It's literally my name. So anything that happens from this is going to be blamed on me, you know, for good or bad, it's going to be me. So I need you to know that in that you're going to like, I gave everyone sort of a talk. I am going to listen. You know, if my friends go, hey, maybe we could put this part here, or maybe we could do this. Absolutely. I will listen to that and I'll make a choice on what I want to do. And if it's a great idea, it's a great idea. But at the end of the day, it has to be my decision. It has to be my choice. And it's my band, my music.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, as you said, your name is on the...
Yeah.
You already talked about that a bit, but still, I wanted to dig a little deeper with the lyrics. Is there a certain song on that record where you felt like, even at a point where you were not sure yet how the record's going to be, but was there one song that from the beginning you knew that has to be on the record? Like, that's the most important thing right now. I need to get that out. Was there something like that? Or is there a particular song you like the most or is most important to you?
Funny enough, there were two songs that sort of worked that way in that I knew exactly where they were going on the album. So Down, I was like, well, that's the last song, obviously. You know, to me, it was the culmination of everything. It was me saying my depression and my issues don't get to control me anymore. This is it. This is my final stand. This is what I've just done on this album is a big fuck you, I'm done. And then what's really funny, I could not figure out a first song for the album. Like I was like, I don't know what like none of these songs seem like a first song. Like it was like, and it was, I'm going to say maybe a week before I went into the studio, I wrote in my defense. And it was like, there it is. Like I was sitting, like I remember being downstairs. I ran upstairs, grabbed my guitar and started playing that song. And it was like, oh my God, I've got the first song. I've got the first song. Like, yeah, like I was so excited. Like, so those are the two songs that I was like, that's it. That bookends, first, last, done, you know? And then it made all those other songs go, okay, well these are where these go now. Now I know exactly where all the other songs need to go. These bookends just help me solve the riddle of this album, you know? So, and then there were the ones that I sort of put to the side that I later released on Bandcamp, but like that, it just made it so much easier once I had those.
That's interesting. That's a cool approach. Like start with the first and the last song and then piece it together. But yeah, it seems like you always viewed it as one piece of art, the whole record. Like it's not individual songs. Like from the beginning, like you immediately thought about which song is gonna go where.
Yes, without a doubt.
In a sequence.
And it was important to me that there was a commanding first song and there was a commanding last song, and they said, I am the first and the last, you know?
Yeah. And also, I mean, the first song is the first impression and like it sets the stage, kind of. And the last song is probably what you will remember after listening to this record. So that's obviously the most important thing. Yeah.
And to start out an album with I found a brand new direction is great. You know what I mean? Like, just like, awesome. You know where the album's going at that point, you know?
Exactly. Totally. And that was also my first impression when I heard the lyrics to the first song. Like I immediately knew the theme, like as you said, like really. Yeah. And you seem so passionate about all of this, which is so cool to hear. And so like you're excited talking about your record and your stuff. Like that's the best thing that can happen. Like that's a good sign. But I'm wondering, you always had multiple bands and projects, and now you're so excited about your own stuff. You're still doing stuff with Boysetsfire from time to time. You're putting out books. You do all of that, but you're also, like, I think family and friends to have like are a priority for you. Like, how do you balance that? And like, is it sometimes difficult if music and what you put out and helping people and all of that is so important to you, like to not forget that the people that are actually like the closest to you?
It used to be difficult. It's not as much anymore. Okay. I have been lucky enough to surround myself with loving, decent, honest people who get it. They get me as a person and they love me because of who I am. They're not here for their own, you know, and in return, I know who they are. I get them, and I love them for who they are. And that's a lesson that I had to learn, and I'm sure a lesson they had to learn about me. To find my small community, my small tribe, you know, was to find out who I could understand and who was going to understand me and love me, not in spite of who I am, but because of who I am, and that I would love them the same. And so that was very important for my small group, my family. And so it's not hard anymore. It used to be. Now it's just, well, this is how things are, you know? And we all make time and we all make an effort to love each other and to care for one another. And that's just it. You know, I think especially my big focus is obviously my kids. In that, you know, something that I learned and wasn't always great at, but I think have gotten better at. I learned something from my grandfather, my mother's father, who was a huge, if you read Until the Darkness Takes Us, he and my grandmother were, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? Like they were big inspirations to me. And I love them dearly, and they passed a while ago. But my grandfather was one of those people. Even if there were 3 people in the room, all 3 of those people felt like they were the most important person in the room. He was this character that I strive to be like him, in that, letting your kids know that you're excited to see them. Like when they walk in a room, hey, you're here. You know what I mean? You can see them light up. And that's what my grandfather used to do all the time. You walk into another room and you walk back in, he's like, hey, you're back. Like excited that you came back into the room again, And when you're a kid, that's huge. Like maybe as an adult, it's not as big of a deal, but like for kids, and I remember my grandfather's funeral, and all of us that grew up as kids with my grandfather, that was our story. We kept talking about it, was like how awesome it was. Like you could go upstairs for a minute and you'd come back and he was stoked to see you. Like, and that's something that had a lasting effect on me, on many others, that I have been trying to impart to my kids. Not just when I get home from tour, not just when I get home from practice, or I come down from upstairs being in a writing headspace or whatever, but just like when they walk in to play with some toys in the living room and they come back in, to be like, oh, hey, and just be excited that they're there and that they exist. And even if you are, like, sometimes I think we forget to express that to people. I think sometimes we forget to express to people how important they are in our lives. And that's not just for kids. That is also for our adult friends and our family members, and maybe even complete strangers. Because that's something I try to do with my fans as well, is to remind them that I get it. To remind them that I see them. I think that bands do themselves and their fans a disservice when they don't do that. And not just in that used car salesman kind of way, like, hey, guys, you're out there. I see you. What's up? That type of shit. But just down and honest, something I've done for quite some time, which has fortunately become something people expect from me now, is that after I play a show, I get off stage and I go and talk to people. And I hang out because I think it's important. I think it's important that people don't just see me as this guy that gets up on stage and then leaves. I do my part, I clock in, I clock out, But I'm there for an experience. I'm there for all of us, and I'm there for the same reason we all are.
Yeah.
And so, it's appreciation, it's gratitude, and it's letting people know. Because I think that some people really hold it in their hearts that they don't matter, that their existence on this planet isn't worth it, that it's not special. And it's been very important to me to express otherwise to anyone who will listen, that no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, that you are special. You're important, and there's a reason for you being here. And that reason may be a reason that you need to make up on your own, It's okay if we don't believe in a higher power. It's okay if we don't believe in a higher purpose that's given to us at birth. We can create that purpose. And in that, become, I guess, fulfill our own purpose in life. And it breaks my heart sometimes, because I think sometimes people lose that. They lose that feeling, and it makes them hate themselves. It makes them act hateful towards others because they just feel like, what's it worth anyway? What's the purpose? And again, not to turn that into some book sale thing, but I talk about that in my book. And I hope that people will read that and get that from it. So,
yeah, they should, and I should too. By the way, I to be honest, I didn't read it, but like now I'm getting more and more excited about it.
Awesome, thank you.
And and I think this is so true. And like purpose and meaning are like the most important things in life for people. Like this is what drives us. This is the most important thing. Yeah. And I think what you said about the kids. Like, man, this is so true. And I think we can cause, not only with kids, but especially with kids, I think we can cause so much damage there with just small things we don't even recognize. Like, I have two kids as well, two small kids. And sometimes, like, I do that myself sometimes, and I feel so bad if I do that afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing something, I'm concentrating on something, or something bad happened to me or whatever, and I'm stressed or something, and then my daughter walks up to me. She doesn't even know what happened, and like she comes up to me, and it's just the wrong moment, and I'm like, I don't have time right now, or I just send her away real quick and be back in 5 minutes or something. Right after I do that, I immediately feel so bad, and I see in her eyes that she just doesn't get why, like, what just happened, and we have to be so careful with that, because I think you can, if you do that too often, or if you just ignore people because of your own personal shit that's happening to you right now, I think you can cause a lot of damage, and we have to constantly remind ourselves not to be that person. So totally true.
I think that, we also need to remind ourselves of that, and also allow ourselves to be human in the way is that we're going to do that, and maybe find ways to make up for it. Like I've definitely at times done that with my kids, and then just gone to them, been like, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like try to make it right, because I think that means a lot to them too. Like, even if they're at first hurt, the fact that you noticed that they're hurt is also important,
Yes.
Another person, and I want to plug this in for a person that's not me, is that alongside with my grandfather, a big important part of my upbringing was a children's television host named Mr. Rogers. And I don't think a lot of people in Europe are familiar with him. He was definitely a very American icon type of thing. But there's a movie out now with Tom Hanks playing him. So if you get the chance, watch that as well. But I would look into, I try to inspire people to go look into Fred Rogers' life. If you watch my videos that have come out, there's a quote by him after every video. And he had the idea that if it's mentionable, it's manageable. He treated kids with an immense amount of respect. It wasn't just flashing lights and boom, bang, ha, funny stuff. It was very deep and dark, like divorce, war, terrorism, things like that, that he would confront in a way that children could understand. And
that's hard to do.
It's very hard. And I thought, it just struck me as so cool that there was this guy, just this sweet, amazing spirit that cared that much for children, to tell them that it's okay to hurt, to also guide them in a direction on how to deal with their feelings about really dark and crazy stuff that most adults wouldn't be able to explain, And so I always try to give sort of a push towards him, because I know a lot of people outside of the US haven't really heard of him. So I just want people to go check him out.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes as well, like for sure, so people can check that out. And I will as well. I've never heard that name before, to be honest.
And many people haven't. And you're like, if you mention him in the U.S., like, and somebody doesn't know, people are like, "What? How do you not know Mr. Rogers?" But outside of the U.S., it's very common that people don't know.
Interesting. I like that's super cool to hear. Like, that's why I'm like, honestly, things like these are the main reason for me why I started this podcast. Right. But because I just love talking to people and figuring stuff like that out and learning and like having a deep conversation every week. Like, this podcast is the best excuse for me to just have phone calls with cool people and learn stuff like that. Like, really,
that's awesome.
This is the best thing. So, speaking about learning, before I dive into some listener questions that I got, I have one question myself that I wanted to ask, and it's completely unrelated to what we were talking right now, but I still wanted to ask you that because it's just interesting to me, and I think to some others as well. I think if you talk about your music, not so much the lyrics, but the music, the way you write melodies and also the way your voice sounds is very unique, and like
thank you.
It's something you immediately recognize, like it takes 2 seconds and it's a Nathan Gray song or a Boysetsfire song or whatever. I'm always curious obviously you're talented. Like some of that is like you have a certain sound to your voice, and that's clear. But are there things that you did or do to like improve or add to your natural like ability to like, do you do things to make your voice sound a certain way, or to train that, or do you have a way or systems like a way you approach writing melodies, or like how does that come together? Because it's so unique and it works every single time, and the songs are different. Like there's like dozens of songs out there that you wrote and sang, and they all sound like you, but they are all different. So
right.
I'm just wondering how you do that, and if that's just something that comes natural to you, or if there's an approach to it.
It's funny, and I was just funny enough. I just started flipping through my book while you were asking this question because I wanted to read just a little section here because it fits so perfectly with what you just asked.
Okay, cool.
Because I don't do anything, but let me read this first paragraph to you real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I am not a great singer, technically speaking. I'm no better than someone walking down the street who only sings in his car or shower, but I have a voice that is my own, and you know it's mine when you hear it. My musical gift is that my voice, my words, and my presence on the stage invoke emotion in people. In this case, it's an honor to say that I am not a great singer. To me, perfection is boring. It's beige. When I meet my life's end, I hope that I slip away knowing that people were moved by what I gave of myself, that I stuck in their heart, not just in their head. I hope I'll know that I helped others learn something about themselves, and that together we embraced our imperfections as trophies we hoisted above our heads in pride.
So good.
And that's the best way I can answer that question. I hear perfect voices a lot. And a lot of times they just sort of blend in together. But I think that one of the qualities of what I do and my voice is not so much that it's perfect or that it's the best voice you've ever heard. I just think that I'm honest about it, and I sing through my heart. And in that respect, I would never in my life ever try to claim that I'm the best singer in the world, but it's awesome that people connect to my voice.
They certainly do. That's interesting that you don't, like, you just accept it the way it is and use it, and you don't do anything special to it, because like it sounds like, yeah, of course it's not perfect, and no voice is, but it sounds like some people would maybe say that it's close to perfect because it's just because
that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
if people feel that way, I am honored that people would feel that way.
Yeah, that and like do you then do stuff to maintain it or like on tour or while recording a record?
I don't do the usual things. So my maintenance, a lot of people, when you ask them about maintenance, they'll usually tell you things like warm-ups and stuff like that. I don't do any of that. It has never helped me to sing before I sing. That's weird to me. But what does help me is, and I'll go back to the idea of appreciation and gratitude for those who come out to see me. Yeah. Back in the day, I used to lose my voice a lot. And that was because I was drinking and partying after every show, going out to clubs, yelling my fool head off like a moron. And that was disrespectful. If you are on the road, and this is something that I tell people that I tour with now, like in my own project, is like, I don't want to see you drunk. Like, you can have a drink here and there, but when you're on our time as a band, you're not getting loaded and running around like a fucking asshole. It's just not happening, because that's disrespectful to why we are on the tour. We are on the tour to give 100% to the nights that we are playing and to the people who come out and spend their hard-earned money to see what we do. And to do anything else it's narcissistic. It's shitty to think that people want to pay money to watch you do a half-assed job because you went out and got drunk the night before. That's horrific to me. It's disrespectful and it's awful. So what I do is I play the show. I drink a ton of water. I play the show. I do my part in talking to people, signing things, taking pictures, stuff like that. After that, I shut the fuck up. I go to the backstage room or to the bus or to whatever, and I'm quiet. I usually will steam my voice because a lot of times, no matter how much water you take in, you actually have to like moisturize your vocal cords with steam to really get it, which is something I learned from a doctor, which was awesome. Greatest knowledge I'd ever, because I did a Boysetsfire tour not that long ago where it wasn't my fault. I had an infection in my vocal cords and my voice was gone the whole tour. I soldiered through it, but it was still awful.
Yeah.
But a doctor was like, towards the end of the tour, he's had me start steaming my voice and it went away immediately. It's like, all you have to do is steam it and your body will take over from there. So I drink a ton of water. We'll only have a drink here or there with food. I don't drink to get drunk anymore. I haven't been drunk in years. That's it. I relax. I rest. I keep my instrument in shape. And that's what helps.
Sounds like the obvious thing to do, but
yeah, you would think. Yeah. But yet people still waste their time with nonsense. But whatever works for you.
Yeah, and we all did that. Like I'm totally agreeing with everything you said. And still, I remember with my bands like 10 years ago that I did the complete opposite of what you were just describing, and even felt bad about it. Like,
yeah. And it's not until it was really funny because it was like I remember like my awakening was in listening back to live recordings and going, "Oh my God, is that what I sound like? Holy shit. Like, oh, that's terrible. Why did I let myself do that?" Like, but and not only that, but just not being present in the moment. You can't be present if you're hungover. You can't be present if you're drunk. Totally. You just can't. You're not there with a sober and fully appreciative mind at that point.
Absolutely.
So I make it a very big point to, I might have a drink before I go on stage if I do it all, but that would be it. And it's going to be followed by a ton of water, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially because you are the singer and like the name of the project.
Once again, if I act like a fucking piece of shit, that's my name. There it is.
Yeah. I learned that the hard way a little bit because like I was always a bass player, not really sang a lot. I just did some backup shouting and like some not really. It didn't matter that much. But now I have a new project where I try to sing. Mm-hmm. And I behaved the same as I always did for years and immediately like regretted it because my voice was gone like after one show. And like there's no way. I still made that mistake not long ago, but there's no way that I could like drink and party all night and scream and then do a show the next day and sing. It's like I can't do it.
Oh yeah, no, it'll catch up to you quick.
Yeah. So thank you for that explanation. By the way, because it's surprising on the one hand because I really thought maybe there is some more to it that you do, but on the other hand, it's cool to hear that it's just what you do and it's somehow natural. And it's the same. Is it the same thing with the melodies? Is it something like just the way you feel it and it always like kind of gets you in this direction or?
Yeah, I mean it's just I just go with whatever I feel on a song, and it's just how it works. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I mean, people are so different. Some people have a clear, like almost a system or a process when they approach like writing songs, and others just like as you said, let's just do what they feel like, and then it happens, and it always sounds like them. So.
Yeah. I have no process in that regard.
Okay, yeah, cool. So. Are you ready and okay with me asking some listener questions?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Cool. Because there are a couple of people there. I just look at my notes here at the questions. There are a couple of people asking questions, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll get to all of these, I think. Yeah. Okay, so let's just start. Philip asks, what's the personal story behind the lyrics of Rookie? Oh, that's a big one, I guess.
Yeah. It's I was working at a restaurant as a waiter, and the woman who was the dishwasher, she was addicted to heroin. She had HIV. She had hepatitis. I mean, it was rough. It was a rough deal. What she had gone through, and her whole life. I mean, we sat down for hours and talked just about her life and her husband who died and all this stuff, and this biker gangs that she ran with and all this stuff. And that's really where the song came from, was this person sort of being just honest about their life. And that the whole, I used to be a lot like you, now I'm just me. And that whole just sort of broken feeling of losing an opportunity in life, of squandering and wasting one's life. And so, it's a sad song in that regard, is that it really is. But it's something that I think on many levels we can all feel. We all get to that point where we go, shit, I should have done things differently. I should have done this differently. I should have done that differently. And so it's a song of regret, but at the same time, once we notice that regret, that's where the hope begins. And that's when our ability to change, if we don't get lost in the regret, we get to hope. And hope isn't like wishing. Wishing is just something that you can frivolously do. Hoping is an action word. Hoping is something that you go, I want to do this, and you make every step to do it. So that would be what that song is about and what it's intending to inspire.
Same theme there again. Like, it's not the end like this.
Yes.
You're gonna get back on your feet and grow. Yeah, cool.
Without a doubt.
Thank you. The next three questions, I can't tell you the names actually because they all came through Instagram and I don't know who those people are. These are just the nicknames.
Right.
So the first one is, what's your you kind of answered that, but maybe just in case you have something to add to that, what's your process of writing a song and how did it change over time? Any tips?
My process has always been wrangling chaos. I mean, it's just like you're trying to build order out of chaos. Like, most of the songs on Working Title were chaotic moments of, oh my God, I got to write this real quick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have like 30 songs on my phone right now for the next album,
Really?
Like, yeah, that I have these moments where it's just like, right. And then I don't for a little bit. And what's funny, a friend of mine noticed that I usually have great writing sessions after bouts of depression. So if I'm on the couch for a week, just like, fuck, nothing matters. You know what I mean? Just really going through it. You can pretty much assume I'll write 3 songs after that. Like when I come back out of it, something's going to happen, So what I do is I take all these little parts, like a chorus here or a verse there or a part here, a part there, and I record them into my phone with a guitar real quick. And then I go back to it when I'm ready to write. And I build the songs from there. So it's getting that, and I like having that because it gives the song a real feel. It gives it, a raw moment as opposed to just a put together song. It's it gives it that urgency.
Yeah, it does. Sure does. Cool. Awesome. Well, that leads to the next question, and that is, and I'm asking this now, can I have 10 of those songs? Because I'm not nearly as productive as you are.
I have to start selling songs.
Okay, so just kidding. Next question. Oh, interesting one. What does your workout program look like?
My workout program at the moment looks like, number one, I've completely rearranged my diet altogether. I am doing more of a plant-based diet, and which I think I will be sticking with for the rest of my life. I think it's better for the environment. It's better for me. It's better all around. plant-based diet, whether it's vegan or vegetarian, whatever. And not only that, but if you eat meat, cut down. Just eat less. Eat less meat. It's no big deal. And I do talk about this in the book. I basically have a chapter that starts out, if you don't want me to tell you to stop eating pizza and drinking beer, skip this chapter. But so my diet plan, which I hate the word diet plan. I like better just saying like, okay, this is how you eat for the rest of your life. Because there's no way to do that. You don't just do fad diets, get to where you're at, and then fuck it all up. So what I do is I eat 6 meals a day. I have breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. And the purpose of that is you eat small meals consistently throughout the day. And it keeps your metabolism up. It keeps you moving. I eat a good amount of protein. I cut down on bad carbs, which is like white pasta, white bread, stuff like that. And I substitute it out with brown rice or bananas or sweet potatoes, good carbs. Or what they would call good carbs, quote unquote. Less of the stuff that's just basically eating sugar.
Yes.
And I'm saying this with my workout because it's very important that you don't just work out, that you also completely rearrange how you view food and nutrition and how you view the way you live and sustain yourself. Because if you just work out, you're not doing yourself any favors by eating a bunch of junk and then going and working out. It's not going to help. So in that, I train my body to be ready for a workout, to be ready to exert energy and to build muscle and things of that nature. So then when I go to actually work out, what I do is and I don't expect anyone to stick to this, by the way, it's a little insane, but I work out 6 times a day. Mondays I do legs. Tuesdays I do chest. Wednesdays is back. And if you're doing back, you're probably doing biceps at the same time, but it's sort of like a secondary thing. And then, where was I at? Thursday is shoulders. Friday is chest again. I suggest that if you have a focus area, usually with the guys it's chest and usually with women it's legs. That's just how it is sometimes. But it's really up to you where you want to focus. I would do your focus exercise twice a week. And that's what I do. So I do chest on Tuesdays and Fridays. And you'll do triceps in that with it as well.
Yeah.
So, and then on Saturdays, I do biceps. Focus just on biceps. And then Sunday is my off day. Now through that week, I'll do 3 days of ab workouts. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll also do an ab routine with my other workout. So like I said, this takes a little time throughout your day. But I think what is most important, it's not so much what I do, but it's that you do something every day. That you keep moving, that you keep motivated. Even if you go to the gym or you just go out for a walk. Hell, just go out for a walk.
Yeah.
Go
Absolutely.
out for a walk or go to the gym and do a little bit of something every day. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this rigorous routine. It doesn't have to be this thing where because again, and I will say it like I speak of in my book, one of the things that I would really like to impart to people while I'm talking about working out, if you have a scale in your house, throw that thing the fuck out right now. That thing is a disgusting disaster for anyone. Scales do not measure health. Scales do not measure how you feel about yourselves. Scales will only make you feel bad about yourself. Unless you're a boxer, you don't use scales. Scales are not for normal people. We don't need them. When you are building muscle, you gain weight. When you are doing certain other things, you'll gain weight or lose weight. And it has nothing to do. Like, I hate scales more than anything in my life. They are a source of dysfunction. They help people to maintain eating disorders. I hate scales. Fuck scales. With that said, what you need to do is do things that make you feel good about you. That's it. You don't need to live up to my standard. You don't need to live up to anybody's fucking standard. You need to live up to what makes you feel good. Take some pictures, look in the mirror, notice that you dropped a size in your pants or something. Great, awesome. But throw the scale out and just get on a better schedule. Eat a little more healthy. Get out and walk every day. Take a little bit of a run. Maybe go to the gym here and there. Who really cares as long as it's making you feel better about you?
Yeah, absolutely. But just to be clear, I think you said you're working out 6 times a day. You meant 6 times a week, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. 6 times a week.
I just wanted to be clear because otherwise people will be like, he's totally like
holy
insane.
Shit. No, I'm not insane. I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing. Hey, look, don't overwork yourself. Don't use scales, but I work out 6 times a day.
That's why I just wanted to clarify that.
That would be a disorder. That is not okay. Do not work out 6 times a day. That is horrible.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you. Then I didn't know that you were so big on that, and that's cool to hear. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
It's helped me keep my mind in shape as well. When you're happier in how you feel, it really does. Again, I'm going to reference the book again, but
do it.
I would never in a million years tell anyone, and please don't mistake this for that, what I'm about to say. So I want to preface it with, if you are taking medication for mental issues, emotional, mental, whatever, keep taking that. That is between you and your doctor. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. But I will tell you that it does not hurt to move. It does not hurt to get outside and move around, to walk, to run, to get your body moving, to get your mind moving, to get your mind in a more positive place so that the medicine can maybe work better, that your doctor can have a fighting chance with your mental state. So I like to tell people, it's not going to hurt. But please don't ever let someone tell you that you can just cut out your medication if you go exercise. That's bullshit. It will also not cure depression. That is also bullshit. But it will give you a fighting chance. That I promise you. If you get up, you move around, it will give you a fighting chance against what you're facing. Along with medicine, with counseling, with things of that nature, with friends and help, it is another step in helping yourself.
100% agreed. Yeah, couldn't do without. Yeah, absolutely. So, and the last one here out of this bulk of questions is, what inspired the song As the Waves Crash Down?
What inspired As the Waves Crash Down was the beginning of the Trump administration. And it was 2 things. It was watching people who I am not get more upset than I was. And I'll explain that a little bit better. Mm-hmm. In that you had women, people who are trans, people from all over the LGBTQ community were freaking out, were upset, and rightfully so, about what was about to happen. And I started thinking about that. And thinking about how I'll get through this. As a white male, I'll get through this. But there are others who won't. And they have every right to be as upset as they are. And I saw people making fun of them. I saw it was in memes and all this shit, all this shitty stuff all over the internet, making fun of snowflakes and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it hurt my heart to know that people had to not only deal with this mutant, horrible, disgusting person becoming president and changing laws around that would directly affect them as human beings, but then the indecency of people making fun of people for being upset that was going to happen, and the bravery it took for those who stood up. And that's why in the video, you have the women's march and you have LGBTQ marches and you have all of this footage in there of people standing up against tyranny and evil and showcasing the bravery that it takes from people who are not willing to lose the progress that they've created and to be an ally with them in saying no. And that's what that song is about.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's also a theme again on the new record. Like you still,
yes,
like there's still the LGBTQ community theme is still there, and it still matters to you, and you still speak out about it because, like, unfortunately, it's not over like this. Still need to speak out. Yeah, it
is absolutely horrific to me that there are human beings that believe that they have any right over another person's happiness. That's vile, absolutely vile and disgusting. And it really hit me when I realized, to me, this is the one life we have. There's nothing after this, as far as I know. How dare you? How dare you take someone's one chance at happiness by making them hide in a closet, by making them feel ashamed of themselves? How fucking gross is that? That you feel entitled to ruin someone's one chance at happiness. Just blows me away, and why I stand very firm on this. Because I won't allow it. I just will not allow it.
Yeah, period. Nothing to add to that. Like, yeah, absolutely. And then the final question, which, yeah, like this is a funny question. It's like, but Patrick asks, who's the better bass player, Oise or Robert?
I mean, honestly, technically, anyone will admit Robert is. I mean, come on. Like, it's the same thing with Rakes, and Rakes will tell you. You know what I mean? He can't play Robert's parts. Like, he has to sort of dumb them down. Robert is an incredibly talented bass player. It's sort of spooky and weird. Like, when he does stuff, like, it's just like, what the fuck did you just write? That's insane. Like, and so, yeah, no, Oise, Rakes, nobody that I play music with can possibly, like, hold a candle to Robert.
That was a very diplomatic way of answering that question.
Well, they'll admit it. I mean, Oise will tell you, Rakes will tell you, there's no way they could play what Robert plays.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, thank you. Well, now, is there anything you want to say about the book, about the record? Anything you want to add to this, like, or what other things that are coming up? I don't know. Just go ahead. Just tell.
Okay. Well, I have a tour coming up in February. That's something important to know. Mostly in Germany, but I'll also be in Switzerland. I'll be in Austria. I'll be, for anyone listening from the U.S., I'm going to be doing some touring in the U.S. as well. I think, honestly, though, my big thing is just I appreciate all the people who are paying attention right now to what I'm doing. I appreciate all those who might learn from this that I'm doing something. And I would just ask you to give it a chance. Whether it's the book, whether it's the music that I'm doing, I would love for you to just give it a chance and see if you like it. If you don't, no big deal, but I think that I hope people like it, and I just want to get it out there, and I want to start touring on it, and I want to start sharing these songs in a way that people know the songs, because a lot of people don't know songs yet because it's not out yet. So that's it. I just hope people will buy the album, buy the book, and get something from it,
Cool. Yeah, obviously. I mean, yeah, totally. And when did we mention the release date? Actually, it's January 31, right?
Yep.
January
31st. Correct.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. Cool.
And you can go to End Hits Records to pre-order at any time.
I was about to ask. Exactly.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, you can actually get tickets there. You can get the album there. You can get the book there. You can get all the other stuff they're offering there. So, yeah, go to End Hits Records and buy stuff.
And one more important thing, where can people find you? Like if they want to, maybe they want to get in touch, or maybe they want to know more or share a story or whatever. Like where can they find you? Where can they contact you?
You can basically in any social media area, you can go to Nathan Gray Music and find me that way. I don't have a personal page anymore. I just hold a music page, but it is me doing it. Because I wanted to break down the barriers between personal and performer. I just wanted to, like, that is me, who I am, so why have a personal page, you know? So I have Instagram and Facebook are through Nathan Gray Music. I think that Twitter is through Nathan Gray Songs. But you can contact me on any of those. So I'm pretty easy to get in touch with, to be honest. Like, it's through any of those, you can send me a direct message through that. Or I think there's a link on there somehow to email me as well. But honestly, if you write me on there, I'll get it.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, like, nobody should ever expect any stranger, like, to answer or to, like, you know, like, it's not, like, obviously you do your best to read and answer stuff, but, like, as always, you, like, nobody has to answer your questions or solve your problems. It just make it interesting. But you know, the only thing I would ask of people is that, because I've run into this before, where people get in touch with me when they're hurting about things that maybe. Well, let me put it this way. I've had people get in touch with me where, like, my girlfriend broke up with me. Can you help me get her back? No, I cannot. Okay. Yeah.
Let me tell you that right now. No, I cannot, and leave that poor girl alone. I do not know, you know what I mean, why she broke up with you, and I don't honestly care. And if she did, that's it, man. Walk on. Go find a better life, you know, because it's one of the things that we normalize in this society, which is very toxic, I think, for guys that want to force themselves on women that no longer want anything to do with them. And that's even if they fuck you over. Good. Now you know that they fuck you over. They are not okay people. So why do you want them back? You know, not only that, but if they broke up with you because they just lost it, she promised she loved me. Too fucking bad, man. That's just what it is. Stop trying to force people to care about you. It's that's and I'm saying this because it's something I get a lot, and it
interesting. Mm-hmm.
I usually tell people, look, man, you need to get help on this. This isn't her fault or her problem, and you need to leave her alone. If she's with somebody new, don't be a stalker, don't be crazy. That's how people get hurt, you know? You need to walk away from this situation and go get your self-help in order to move on before something bad happens. That's my big speech on that. But other than that, I welcome people getting in touch with things they're going through and hurts and things, as long as it doesn't have to do with me having them wanting me to contact someone else, you know what I mean, on their behalf. Like, please don't do that. But if you just want to talk to me about some things you're going through, I'm more than happy to.
Awesome. So cool. Yeah. Then I think that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time. I put all of that information in the show notes, like all the tour dates, everything you said, all the links, all the names you mentioned. Yeah, it's been awesome. I learned a ton. It was so much fun. It was intense and surprising at times, but it was so cool.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's great to have like 2 hours to just go off at the mouth.
Yeah.
I love talking, obviously. So it's just like, oh yeah, give me a platform. I'll go.
Perfect. That's what this is for. And
I love it.
I already know people are going to like this episode. So
awesome.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Send it out to me so I can share it around too.
Of course, I will. I will absolutely do that. And I wish you all the best and success and happiness and everything with that new record. And I hope you reach as many people as you'd love to. And you can. I hope you can keep helping people for years to come. And keep doing what you do.
Awesome.
And super cool. Thanks for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As I said, you'll find all of the information in the show notes, and you'll find those under benedikthein.com/ORP37. I'll post all the links there, all the information, everything we talked about, everything we've mentioned, so you can look it up for yourself. Other than that, I would love to hear about your music, your musical projects, your art, your band. If you are in the process of making a record right now or planning to do so, and you want to team up with somebody who really cares about your art, your vision, like not your typical online mixing engineer, but somebody who really digs deep, who wants to find out what you're all about, who wants to help you reach your goals, then hit me up. Go to benedikthein.com and either request a quote if you already know what you're about to do and what you need, or just book a free call and let's talk about your music. It's completely free. It's just a half-hour call where I can get to know you, get to know your music. We can talk about your goals, visions, and find out if we can create something awesome together. So that's what those calls are about. I'm excited to hear from you. Talk soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.